Threw a Yoo-hoo bottle against the Rock's face. Poor Rock, I'm so sorry. I was close to rock bottom. What was rock bottom?
What happens when a founding father walks away from a company at the height of its popularity?
I know Tony Khan has sent a contract in the mail. Maybe it's not the contract I wanted.
Cody Rhodes didn't just leave AEW. He set off a chain reaction.
Okay, so I'm sitting here, the WWE champion, and I, whatever, many years ago, took someone's iconography and smashed it publicly on TV. Also on a YouTube series, pretended to be possessed by WWE and was being stalked through the halls. October 19th, 1999, WWE made its first public offering on the New York Stock Exchange. If I'm not blacklisted, I mean, like, you'd have to be the worst of the worst to be blacklisted. I really don't know anyone truly blacklisted in the business.
22, AEW. What's this? Is this another year of just steady growth? Because you guys, the arrow's been pointed up since you started.
I think 2022, it really leans into all those free agents and all the original. I think you really are setting up for a year-long, incredibly tumultuous battle royal of, oh, well, I came from WWE and I never watched your product, but I'm super over, or I've been here the whole time.
That's something I tell people all the time. When they leave a company or come to a company, whatever, they make new friends.
Yeah.
I always tell them, like, just so you know, you're going to see those people again.
Yeah.
You're going to see the ones that you thought, I will never see her or him. I'll never see them again. Yes, you will.
Yeah.
You might even be in a segment with them. So
I think it's easy for me now to say, like, oh, I definitely knew, but it wasn't the case.
The return to WWE does not happen without Conrad. He was genuinely just curious. Hey, just curious. Are you really up? Is your contract really up? Because every wrestler who says their contract is up is typically lying.
He was contacted days after that article being reported that he was working without a contract. And that was first published on January 17th.
That Vince flies to your house in Atlanta to pitch you on coming to WWE.
Yep.
Cody would be gone from AEW less than 1 month.
He found out through the dirt sheets, as we call them. We need a better name for our wrestling media, but that's what we call them, the dirt sheets.
Yeah, sounds like a Diddy party.
You know, Brandy and I had been offered new contracts. Brandy had a great deal with Tony, and I had a great deal with Tony, and Roads to the Top Season 2 had been renewed, you know.
In January 2022, wrestling fans were shocked when Fightful revealed that Cody Rhodes, one of the key architects of AEW, had been working without a contract for months.
You King Mark!
This wasn't just another contract negotiation. It marked the beginning of the end of Cody's time in AEW. A departure that would change the landscape of pro wrestling.
Oh my God, it's Cody Rhodes!
Hours later, Bruce Pritchard texted Cody, setting up a pivotal meeting that included Vince McMahon flying to Cody's house the very next day.
And I thought I'd love to meet with you guys because if anything, it'll be closure. That's honestly how I looked at it. It will be closure.
He found out that I was free and free. Nobody wanted to dabble. If you're not free, if this is a storyline, if this is a bit, we don't need to be talking because that's trouble.
Since you've gone on record trying to check WWE on some of this tampering stuff, it's gotten better or there's been no change?
That's a fascinating way to phrase the question.
If you put it on the record like stop tampering with my guys, you're sending a clear message. I'm wondering if it worked out.
I don't think that it has. I think that it's still happening.
But even at that point, Cody didn't seriously consider WWE an option.
I thought in that meeting I wasn't coming back though.
Wait, why?
I thought in that meeting it would be good to have a moment of, feels great to be wanted and wanted by the place that helped raise me, my home. But
WWE's creative had been in the gutter for years with Vince McMahon's outdated booking. But despite his doubts, Cody took the meeting, hoping for some closure.
It got real. And I think I only told Brandy, like, ooh, I don't know if I should have answered this text because now I'm faced with this. And
so found out I was free and came to my house in Atlanta, and it was really old school in terms of, hey, there's no promises beyond this is what we are considering. You wrestling Seth Rollins at WrestleMania 38 in Dallas. Seth Rollins was somebody I'd felt like I'd been chasing when I was there the first time.
I really get excited when people say the executive vice president thing. It still kind of tickles me. 3 years in, if you come backstage, you've been backstage at AEW. There's no place like it. That's the most team effort place I've ever been a part of in my life. That's the best feeling. I mean, it really does feel like you're going on the field with 10 other guys, 10 other girls, whatever it may be. And you need one another. And I see that more than ever at AEW. And
as an EVP, Cody was known for trying to keep the locker room united.
That was my favorite part about having that job, was the leadership aspect of it. I don't know if I was good at it or not, but we had.
Well, some would say it appeared that after you left, things got a little worse. So.
Without him, things quickly unraveled. Feuds between top stars like Britt Baker, MJF, Eddie Kingston, and CM Punk escalated. But listen to his #1 goal as an executive at AEW for the year 2022.
As long as I am in the role I am, that's the thing I'd like to foster more than anything is remember we're a team. Can't eat each other up because we need to eat together. And
meanwhile, AEW had all the momentum and the fans' goodwill.
I didn't know what the plan was. I certainly could have gone back at that point
to AEW.
Yeah, we certainly could have figured that out.
So what changed? How did a text from Bruce Pritchard and a meeting with WWE flip everything upside down? More importantly, how did Cody's exit reveal the cracks in AEW's leadership that were about to split wide open?
If you have enough money, you can get away with anything, including murder.
I'm not interested in creating a spectacle brand that's hot for a moment. 2 years later, people are like, remember when that was cool.
We're moving into our next phase. New talent is coming in, contracts coming up. All that crazy stuff you hear about makes for incredibly good wrestling television.
Sometimes you have something going and it's kind of hot. You go like, oh man, I'd like to, we could go all in right there, right now. But if you go too far, too fast.
Did you indeed fear for your life, or was that performative?
Yeah, I was scared as hell for a moment there.
Too fast. You limit your chances on the other side of it being long term.
Wrestling's best when it's as real as it can be, and this is just a real time.
You burn that fire too fast, it burns out. It's done.
The executive vice presidents have a lot of say in what we do.
I don't have any sense. Have you not read the news in terms of, I do not book AEW. I'm not the head honcho, the con, as I like to refer to him.
15 times more than what I had been making. My wife is, she's a stone. Very little breaks her. And it's fun when you can hear like, wait, what? We had to be really sure it was the right thing. Because remember, I'd left there not on the best of terms.
I was driving Brand to the airport is when it happened. Where I had already told Mark Carano at the time, he said, I'll see you next week. I said, no, you won't. I just wrestled freaking Matt Cardona for the 50th time. I was driving to the airport and I just told her, I was like, I'm gonna drop you off. I'm not going. And then I called them and told them I wasn't gonna be there. And the next thing you know, it was just over.
But I was actually like nervous and like shaking about the whole thing. And then alone in my car, I hung up the phone and I still got to drive home and there's traffic. So I have to be like cognizant of the road. And I like cranked up the radio and Tom Petty's Free Fallin' was on. I legit sang that song at the top of my lungs in my vehicle, just as a like spiritual, like.
Life is not easy at all. There's gonna be challenges. You're gonna get beat down. That's the way life is.
So many of us are fans of our fathers, right? And he was my hero. And for me to like feel accomplished, I want to do something that I can stand in his company and feel like important. And to him, he was like a really big fan of me, and that's great. But he was my dad, so there's something out there. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a title, if it's a role, gosh, I don't know what it is. If it's a Senate run in Texas, something out there will make me say like, hey, I did right by the old man.
At some point, everything's going to go south on you. Everything's going to go south, and you're going to say, this is it. This is how I end. Now, you can either accept that or you can get to work. That's all it is. You just begin.
Do the work.
But he didn't just walk into WWE. He had a backup plan.
My fallback was if WWE rejected me in terms of the fans, I knew I could come back to WWE, but if it didn't work on the level I wanted it to work, but my fallback was to do a podcast with Conrad called The All In.
Playing several moves ahead in case WWE didn't treat him like the star he believed he was.
When people start doing shoot interviews and books on contracts.
And here's the twist. Cody had a 1-year option on his AEW contract that Tony Khan, AEW's owner, could have used to keep him, which is the exact move he'd used for the Young Bucks, but chose not to for Cody Rhodes. Why? What really went down?
That you said it was a personal thing that we just couldn't get past. Could you elaborate on what that is?
Sure, it was. Here's the real kick here. Cody didn't even expect to become WWE champion when he returned.
As soon as I came back, instance into walking out, it had rekindled not just my love for pro wrestling, but it had rekindled the feeling of, no, I can get to the top. It's not lost yet. I still have a shot at it.
But to understand how we got here, we need to take a trip back. A year is probably the most controversial in wrestling history.
Coming back here was a far bigger gamble than All In.
The story of you coming to WWE swallowed up Stone Cold Steve Austin returning to wrestling.
Because here's the guy who, waved another flag really hard for quite some time. If he came here and just blew it, that would be.
The chat's exploded saying that Cody and Brandy have left AEW.
What? This is Chris for Cody Rhodes.
This is not a work.
Career.
So what do we talk about now? Do we talk about this? Do we go back to Steve?
They're calling Stone Cold Steve Austin out of retirement after 19 years to try to get some people into these buildings.
No, let's talk about Cody.
Keep talking about this. This is insane.
Let's keep on the Cody situation for the time being.
You want to be the biggest news story of pro wrestling this week, please. Steve, hold my beer.
If he goes to WWE, do you personally think it's a good move? Creatively, no. Financially, yes.
It's a good job. Smeg all happened on Raw. Nothing happened on Raw this week. Oh, I'm sure I'd say that, but I mean it's diddly dick these days. Yep.
So, what would he accomplish by going back to WWE? Because there's every chance he just becomes a mid-carder again.
Mm-hmm.
All I've seen today is people going, 2 months he's going to be Stardust again.
Nobody should give WWE Bruce, Nick Khan, don't give any of these people the benefit of the doubt. They don't give a shit about you.
He ain't going to make it. I'm going to bury him.
You're walking in there as public enemy number one. You've actively taken revenue away and audience away from WWE. They're going to welcome you with open arms?
Like, there will probably be a huge amount of fanfare early doors because it's Cody Rhodes. But
yes, for the first couple weeks, you'll be, oh my God, we got Cody Rhodes. Ha 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 ha. Tony Khan.
how big of a deal is it that Cody Rhodes might go back to WWE?
It's not that big a deal. It's a huge deal from AEW's perspective.
Cody Rhodes is responsible for the creation of AEW. Without Cody, there is no AEW. I am disappointed that Tony Khan let him go. This is a bad look.
You know, Tony has a vision, and then this is his money, and let's see how that plays out.
I've never felt better in my entire life. I've never felt better.
At the time, no one knew for sure that Cody was going to WWE.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are in an exciting phase of the wrestling war.
In fact, we wouldn't learn that until 3 months later when his grand return at WrestleMania. But to truly understand Cody's journey and his intentions, we need to take a quick trip back to 2019.
You've been responsible for the resurgence of the indie scene and building it back up to where people actually give it the credibility that it hasn't seen in quite a while. How does that feel to be the face of this resurgence of essentially the territories?
Loaded question.
I have no intention currently of going back to WWE. I know that's a lot of people's thing. Oh, built my brand up. Here I go. This is too much fun in figuring this out and figuring out everything with Ring of Honor and New Japan. Ring of Honor had a 30% business increase from a gross. That's outstanding.
This right here is a family.
There's two big differences between WWE and what AEW is. Tony Khan.
Guys, he's one of us. He's a wrestling fan.
He's the one who sought out us and made us the EVPs so that it could be a wrestling company run by actual wrestlers.
We haven't had competition in a long time, and we have some now, and I think it's exciting. Cody Rhodes, his wife, Brandy, I respect the hell out of them.
Apparently, if you put executive vice president in front of anybody's name, they feel important.
Hope that they can pull it off. If they do, it's going to be a hell of a...
I give you my word, we will never, ever let you down.
For me and for her, this is it, though. You know, I looked at the sucker the other day. It's more years than any WWE contract I signed, and I know why, because I'm committing my life to this.
So I've gone all in, no pun intended, on being one of the faces of the company. It's a big money startup, and I've been able to touch everything.
Dusty Rhodes beat Vince McMahon, and he lost. And here is his youngest son who's going to go try and cut Vince's head off.
The success of All In opened the door to a national wrestling promotion that could compete with WWE. Enter Tony Khan.
And he is the financial backer, and he is the sphere of influence and has this business acumen. But it also means that if we want to really step in...
AEW was born in 2019, and Cody was right in the middle of it.
Tony, his family business, and me and Brandy, and yeah, it really is a
the family business.
I believe if there was any one wrestler there that treated AEW as if it was his own money, it's Cody Rhodes.
And as Cody told ESPN, a lot of what happened stemmed from me and the Young Bucks doing All In. It just seemed like this wrestling renaissance.
Especially when at the AEW, I was very in the moment.
And I thought, what if we did this weekly? Cody, along with Tony Khan, the Young Bucks, and Kenny Omega helped build something special. And Cody didn't just create AEW,
You ran the production.
I love that. Yeah, so you were there when I was still running those meetings.
Yeah.
I really love it. From an ego standpoint, from an optic standpoint, that was really cool. But I also really loved leading. And I just maybe wasn't ready to fully lead at that point. And it didn't rub everyone the right way that, why is he running the production meeting?
He took that role seriously. In fact, Cody was so committed to earning the fans' trust.
I think Tony didn't want to really come out as much. He was just getting comfortable with the idea of it. Now he's out front. He's able to do it all. But at the beginning, it was all me.
That he made a bold move. He vowed never to challenge for the AEW championship.
In this executive role, I've put my foot in my mouth so many times, whereas when I was a talent, I could get away with it. Talents can lie. Talents can exaggerate. When you're any type of management, you're held accountable, which is a lesson for me to learn.
His goal was to be seen as the guy who was there for the fans, not for titles or ego. That's a huge part of what makes his eventual departure so incredibly complicated. But what went wrong in AEW? Was it creative differences? Was it money? The truth is much more personal.
I was so caught up in the moment of the revolution that was happening and wanting to be the guy they trusted the most with the revolution.
Cannot counter-program the law. They shoot you when feeling.
He was unable to do those things, but he would join.
I want to stay the executive vice president of All Elite Wrestling. I told Tony this until I die. This is the end of my.
Oh yeah.
You don't really have another option.
That I can't necessarily go back. The others can change. I really can't.
Despite his efforts, Cody's relationship with the fans took a strange turn. Rumors started swirling about conflicts with the elite, his former best friends and co-executives.
We've been very successful, AEW, and with NXT using the Wednesday Night Wars, that created a lot of anger. And I understand that there's a lot of hardcore NXT and WWE fans out there, and that's why those stories like that don't surprise me. I think people need to cling to something.
Why did you stop appearing on Being the Elite?
Oh gosh, I don't even remember.
There's a quote in the Young Bucks book about how I was last to the signing and
Oh yeah, you're on the list.
Don't edit me out, Nick. I just wanted to come to the party, all right?
I hated that in the Young Bucks book, they said I was last to the signing. That's one of the things that people always cite. Oh, he was last. He wasn't that big a deal to the origin. Yes, I guess I was the last. And yes, I had different thoughts. And it's not incorrect at all what they said.
That you were physically the last person.
Yeah, like it's not
sign your name.
It's not incorrect, but I was just in on it as well as anybody else. I didn't take his call.
Really?
I didn't, and I didn't like deny him, but I just heard, hey, Tony wants to talk to you, and thought,
I am Alexa on the fucking list.
Certain storylines didn't resonate, and soon, Cody found himself becoming a villain in the eyes of the very fans whose trust he had fought so hard to earn.
I am thankful to the fans that cheer me, and I am thankful to the fans that boo me, because both sets of fans are getting ready to go on a ride that is just bizarre and it's not the path that you think. We're not doing what's been done before.
Recently in interviews, Cody has hinted at how this villain narrative weighed on him. He even compared his experience to the Dark Knight. Some fans need the story to be that they didn't want me, they pushed me out. They need me to be the villain. I was always fine accepting that because of the respect I had for wrestling and their journey we were on together. But now, here's where things get interesting. Many have speculated about why Cody has left.
And the most important thing, especially for those astute ones like Cody, they saw what wrestling was and realized what it could be.
So the idea that somebody involved with bringing this alternative promotion, this challenger brand, to the mainstream, to be there and be an alternative option, that person would then leave and go back is very large if you really think about it. Especially that's what I do. The goalposts move and I try to keep going. That's the number one thing I'm good at. Oh man, these people are gonna bet against me. No.
You guys remember when Cody left WWE?
The paycheck just it's not worth your happiness.
A lot of people in AEW, I mean, shocked.
Nobody gets to quit WWE.
They were like, dude, he had everything here. Could have a job for the rest of his life.
I was going to work there forever.
Why would he leave?
You said on Aubrey Sitterson's podcast that you left 7 figures. Did you leave 7 figures on the table?
And all we heard was he ain't ever going to make it.
This is Chris.
Well, he made it. Not only did he make it, but he made it big, and he made it all the way to the very top, creating the first legitimate competition for WWE.
I got to sharpen my skills, like Hulkamania in the AWA. Right before it came to WWE, it's the same. Like the energy was there. The renaissance was happening. It wasn't just company based. And by the time I got to WrestleMania and WWE, I felt like, okay, I've come back a complete package. I'm in command of this is how the music goes. I'm in command of who the American Nightmare is, and I can know that and understand it better than a writer or a producer, and thankfully we have all those things. But
if he helps strike a creative renaissance in WWE and the show is consistently good, then no, I don't think it's a waste.
There's a lot of WWE diehards. There's a lot of stand-up for WWE blokes out there. And you know what? Somebody walking out of the enemy.
I woke up this morning to a very large amount of people in my mentions, almost all of them with a Roman or a Sasha Banks avatar, making fun of me.
To come and grace them with his presence, they may go nuts for this guy. They may see him as the greatest folk hero ever, that he walked out of AEW and came home.
The Ballad of Cody Rhodes.
I don't know if I'm going to continue to watch AEW. Now the question is, does that mean you're going to start watching WWE?
They are the worst at what they do. Creatively, they have no momentum. Their roster is absolutely depleted. They are banking on Stone Cold Steve Austin and Ronda Rousey and Johnny Knoxville and a potential Rock showing up at WrestleMania this year.
And maybe he thinks he can be even above Roman Reigns long term.
I can be Paul. All on Paul's property.
Have anybody.
Finally, Brandy can be Steph.
They aren't making any new stars. It's the same stuff on top. He's, I think, 36 years old. So he's significantly younger than all their other main eventers. And he probably believes I can walk in there. They're going to give me like $5 million a year or whatever. I'm going to be a top guy. Can I finish this?
How AEW ended was terrible, really. And people are going to write books later on, and these stories are going to get out there, and then it's going to be a whole new ball game. But the actual experience and everything we did, I mean, and you're included in that. I'm in this Miami hotel.
I think what we have ready to go is the best wrestling show ever. I really do. It's a wrestling show by wrestlers for the fans. It's 100% fan service.
And we did our interview, how fortunate we were that Tony wanted to invest in this vision, and he had a vision as well. How special Mad Nick in the BTE era and Kenny and my rivalry in New Japan, especially from a dollars and cents point, that made New Japan more money than anything they ever did. And it made Ring of Honor going through the roof at the time.
Yeah, probably shared more than I should have. It was terrible, whatever, and it wrapped up. However, when it comes to the management and luminary figures and people who were part of that time in my career with me,
the whole company was sort of like built around you at the beginning.
Chris was not genuinely aware that the EVP thing was real.
It's sounding egotistical. If there was no Chris Jericho, I don't know if the company would have gotten off the ground as quickly as they did.
And now you're his boss, dude.
He doesn't really like that.
And a lot of people thought that he was the boss. He wasn't the boss. Tony's the boss. He's always been the boss.
I sent my first talent memo, and then it became wait, no.
The whole concept of EVPs and kind of that whole thing. I knew that it wouldn't really mean anything.
No. Yeah. It's a learning curve for us all, I don't necessarily have to like them, and they don't have to like me. And I will always have a love for them because of what we did.
If you look at what we created, I always make sure I name everybody because there's been some revision. I'll make it very clear.
Okay.
Matt, Nick, Kenny, Tony, Bernie, Brandy, my wife, and Dana. Without them, I remember how fragile it was. Doesn't exist.
What's up with the backstage drama? Whether it was stuff with Rhodes when he left.
I want to stay the executive vice president of All Elite Wrestling. I told Tony this until I...
If it is a work, they are working a locker room that has already grown more distant from Cody Rhodes and Brandy Rhodes. That would be toxic.
And really old school, scribbled on a piece of paper the amount of money the contract would be for, and just slid it across, which was unnecessary.
What was it?
What was it?
And you took Cody Rhodes from them. How did you like that one?
I feel like there has been a lot of backstage news and rumors that's been coming out of AEW that surprised a lot of fans, all the way from MJF to Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa. I mean, the great thing about wrestling is that you never know if it's real or not. It could be a storyline. It could be real.
Let me take you to All Out 2022.
Product here is professional wrestling matches, and people not liking each other and not getting along can actually be positive, as opposed to most workplaces where people not getting along is detrimental.
What should have been the triumphant night for AEW turned into absolute chaos.
And so it's great to have CM Punk back in AEW, and he's a huge part of our company, and really he's a huge part of pro wrestling.
The post-show media scrum with CM Punk calling out the Elite, accusing them of spreading rumors. It wasn't just drama, it was a full-blown PR nightmare. Fights broke out, punches were thrown, and AEW's image took a serious hit. But think about this. What would have happened if Cody was still there?
I had a great relationship with Matt, Nick, and Kenny. I still do. It definitely was tested by being young executives. It was tested by having different opinions on wrestling. But our different opinions is what made it strong. I want to do Crockett and old school, and they want to do PWG and West Coast, and damn, I loved it. I also had a great relationship with Punk. He was my dinner buddy. I had a great relationship. We would still like chat. And
Cody was one of the few people who gave honest, level-headed answers about backstage issues. He didn't bury anyone, but he also didn't hide the truth.
I have never seen so much bullshit drama in one place in my entire life.
Things like the infamous brawl-out incident could have actually been avoided.
You lose a star the caliber of Cody Rhodes, it's going to be a major impact on your company, and it's going to...
All Elite Wrestling is a wrestling company that's brought to you by wrestlers.
Well documented that folks think the wrestlers are running all of this. We're surrounded by some of the most intelligent and qualified people on the planet.
Cody was the leader AEW desperately needed during these moments of turmoil. Tony Khan, despite being the face of the company, struggled in these high-pressured situations. His responses were often awkward, and the lack of clear communication started to alienate fans who once viewed AEW as a fan-first league.
When people don't like something, they say that's cringe. Great. Come up with a better word. Most of the people who are like, that was cringe, dude, you're probably cringe, bro.
Most of AEW's roster either avoided commenting or took personal shots at CM Punk.
I cannot comment on the press conference.
And just curious, why can't you comment on it?
I don't want to.
The state of your relationship with CM Punk?
But I appreciate that you asked, but I cannot answer that, my friend.
And sometimes guys get in fights, and sometimes guys just have the wrong attitude for how to make the team work.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's how you have to look at it. Sometimes guys have to leave. It's just the way it is.
I hope people remember the mission in the first place, why we were there. And if you bring in people who don't know the mission, then things like that can happen. And I'm not saying he didn't know the mission or anything of that nature, but I was just bummed out because we envisioned it. If you were at All In, were you at All In? All right, the spirit of All In. If you ever lose the spirit, doesn't mean you can't get it back.
Just days later, other top stars in AEW, like Britt Baker, would echo his sentiments.
Yeah, I actually don't even think I've ever given my thoughts. As someone who loves AEW more than anything in the world, and that scrum was heartbreaking. This felt like a very much a disaster, and you never want that to happen, and that happens every day.
And without Cody's leadership, AEW began to feel like Tony Khan's league, not the fan-driven company it once promised to be.
The person I think I get compared to probably the most often by people like, oh, you remind me of this person, but it's Paul. And Paul Heyman, not the other Paul. He's a genius.
Tony started taking over creative control, and by 2021, Khan publicly took credit for AEW's success in a Forbes interview. That had this thing, and this was a rumored issue, especially for Cody, who had put so much into the company.
Certain wording bothered him, and certain lack of credit bothered him. Where, Tony is the guy. Right. He runs the place. He owns the place. That Forbes article that came out where, Tony lists like, I'm the creator, I'm the founder.
Chairman, president, CEO, founder, booker, head of creative.
This onto that in the beginning. That affected, that changed something. That's what, was said to me by multiple people.
AEW's original mission statement was for wrestling fans by wrestlers. Things started to change when Tony Khan took full control in late 2019 after the infamous Dark Order fake punching segment. And Tony Khan will often point to that point in time when he took over creative control as being one of the most important decisions ever made in the history of AEW.
I thought we made some really strong changes in late 2019 going into 2020 that really served us very well.
I really believe in booking, you have to find the counterpoint of your soul in the person you're trying to find. And I have it with a lot of people, and there are other people you don't have it with. You know, Britt Baker is me, I am Britt. Orange Cassidy is me, I am him. To me, that's a really important part of it.
Tony Khan's booking methods of huge announcements and huge roster signings would eventually run out. The real reason Cody left, it wasn't just creative differences though. Now here's the big reveal you've been waiting for. Cody admitted by the time he left AEW, his passion for wrestling had started to fade.
By the time I came back at WrestleMania, I would never say I was just happy to be there, but at that point in my career,
He wasn't sure if he had it in him to chase the dream anymore. And while AEW could offer him things WW couldn't, like lighter schedule, creative freedom, Cody knew he needed something more.
When I say it's a bigger gamble is, telling Vince McMahon, you're the best wrestler in the world, if you don't show up and if you're not cracking the top 3, top 4 people in terms of every measurable they have, then you lied to them.
And that something more was not running NXT like many of the wrestling news sites published.
it was about providing for the family and the best thing for my family.
Think about that for a second. AEW could match anything WWE had, except one thing. WWE was willing to pay Cody what he was worth. And yes, I'm talking about money here. Tony Khan wouldn't budge on the budget.
The winner's purse isn't remotely fictional to me. The winners make more than the losers. The winners sit in first class.
While WWE offered Cody more than just a contract, they offered him a platform to reach a level of stardom AEW could never provide. And let's be real. After working as hard as Cody did in AEW, he deserved to be paid like a top star. Fast forward to WrestleMania 38, Cody's return to WWE shocked the world.
Everyone talks about the forbidden door. No one's gone from there to here. And so there was a lot at stake here.
By the time I came back at WrestleMania, my feeling was, I think I'll be well received. I might also be booed as the guy who went away and did all these things.
The thunderous ovation he received wasn't just a welcome back, it was a sign that the fans were ready to see him as a top guy. Cody wasn't just returning to WWE, he was returning to achieve a dream he once thought was out of reach. Becoming WWE champion.
That's probably the hardest thing ever because my dream forever was to be the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. If you look, I'm the WWF Champion, the Winged Eagle. That was it. And that's why it's difficult, because it was either one, you know what, I give up on that dream, or it became that dream has changed.
As Cody walked down the ramp from his surprise return, he was greeted with an electric wave of fans. The thunderous ovation shook him to his core. That was the moment he realized, I can do this. The fans' response to him wasn't just another wrestler coming back to WWE. He was coming back as a top star for the first time.
Oh my gosh. It could all be mine if I did the work to do it and to get there. And that was the first time
He actually had a shot at being WWE champion.
I feel like I've got, I don't know if PTSD is the right word, but I have so much mental blockage that the only thing that clears it up for me is when I go out there and there's a really great response.
Me too. The realization didn't come from corporate promises or contract negotiations. It came from the crowd. Cody realized right on that ramp that his wrestling story wasn't finished. He had something left to prove, not just to the wrestling world, but to himself. As much as Cody may have left AEW, his legacy there was undeniable. He helped launch the company's first show, Double or Nothing, and managed AEW through incredible highs and lows, including the global pandemic. He even became a father during his time at AEW, which added new layers to his decision to leave.
As soon as the baby was born, the literal second thing I thought, other than she's so beautiful, is I have to make a lot of money.
And in his own words, I gave everything I could, but there were certain things said that when I left that hurt more than people realize.
Because now they look at the situation, they're like, oh man, you're on top of the world, you have everything. Maybe they don't understand that I really gave everything I could.
WWE didn't just buy Cody Rhodes, they actually bought the revolution, or at least that momentum. WWE had to bring Stone Cold Steve Austin out of retirement because WrestleMania 38 ticket sales were abysmal. The good times would begin again for WWE and only continue for Cody Rhodes.
It is really funny how you keep pretending it's not the money, but you got 15x what you got before. And you're like, I don't know what ethereal
That's always a
force was pulling me towards.
I think around the Royal Rumble, because what happens with the Royal Rumble is one of the only two in that top 10 to not win it. And I remember thinking, like, that's going to go away. So it just was moving so fast. And then I have all these other fun projects that I love doing, like, you know, Go Big Show, and Roads to the Top was actually sincerely very fun.
Something changed and everybody was downplaying it.
You asked for post-match comments, so there's so many elephants in the room. This is an insane week in wrestling. People think that the Sean Ross story is BS. It's not. If you want to know how serious things got, I have never felt more at home than under those lights, wrestling for the TNT title.
When I heard Cody was coming over, when we finally got the news, which was very last minute as far as WrestleMania is concerned.
So why did Cody leave AEW? Many speculated it was a mix of trade differences and money, but there was something more. AEW wasn't the same company Cody had helped create. For Cody, who had put his heart and soul into the company, this was a slap in the face.
It would be really good to go back and go back in a vindicated type way, to be me and you know, try to be the absolute best wrestler in the world and prove it.
I mean, anybody who wants to come work in the big leagues. I said it to him last night. I said it before. This is the premier professional wrestling company on the planet. I know. Oh, don't say professional wrestling. Doesn't matter. We have the best in the world, and now we have Cody Rhodes on top of that, and he is joining that club. So if you want to be the best, don't go play rinky-dink. Come here. Do your thing here. We are the best. Top notch.
In a wrestling company, there's a boss.
Right.
And you're basically performing to the audience of one.
The original vision was slipping away, and Cody saw the writing on the wall. It was a gamble. Many thought he'd be buried like others before him, but he proved everyone wrong.
But this is where you are the best. This is where you find out if you can hack it on the top level.
And even though WWE Creative had its ups and downs, Cody had one goal in mind: WWE Champion. Without Cody's leadership, AEW's backstage issues spiraled. The All Out 22 brawl was just the tip of the iceberg. Tony Khan in interviews downplayed the importance of unity in the locker room. But that oversight led to a toxic environment where divisions grew deeper and fans began to turn away. AEW's ratings dropped, attendance fell, and many fans who once believed in the revolution now felt disillusioned.
I could never root against it. It's like having a kid and they go off to college and they get a DUI or they get in trouble, you know?
In hindsight, it's clear that Cody's departure was a turning point for AEW, a moment when the dream of a wrestler-run company began to fade. Cody's departure from AEW wasn't just about one wrestler leaving. It was the catalyst for a leadership crisis and major shift in the wrestling landscape.
When a founder of a company whose initial vision it was leaves, that's always surprising. A lot of it is his concept. A lot of the initial phase was on him.
Are you writing now more of the storylines?
I write I have been.
You took that more on your shoulders as opposed to when you first started, right?
Yeah, it's true that I am booking and writing everything by hand. But
Cody always had a vision to fill the boots of his father, not just in the ring, but behind the scenes. The manner in which the creative end of that company grew. The fact that he didn't have the level of participation in decision-making that he initially thought. It doesn't surprise me that at some point he was going to say, not what I originally envisioned, and I want to see what life is like elsewhere.
I'll never root against them in any case, and that's not always easy because there's random things said about you at press conferences, and that's a big no-no. You should never say me or my wife's name. Tony should have told you that. Number one red flag I hear.
Tony Khan's ego, combined with his reluctance to address serious issues.
Oh, you can use the press pass. You don't have to be in the press.
Very good. Thank you very much.
This is the wrestling business. I'm very loose.
Has cost AEW more than just a top star. And while WWE thriving with Cody near the top, AEW is left to pick up the pieces. Cody's gamble paid off, but he's also inspired a new generation of wrestling fans. And even though AEW has lost its way, there's still hope that that all-in spirit can be found again. Tony can put aside his ego.
He's joining us with details of Tony Khan's denial, Scott.
And fix what's broken.
Cody, since leaving WWE, has increased his value as much, if not more, than anybody ever has. And that's not just because of AEW. The reason AEW is formed is because of what he did between the time that he left WWE and AEW was formed. Cody doing what nobody had really done, which was quit WWE and then make his list, people that he wanted to work with and promotions that he wanted to work for. And the things that he was doing on the independents.
Not only was I wrestling him, I was going over as well, right? And we're planning the match, and Cody's like, do you want to do a spot where you kiss my wife? Yeah. And I can't even remember. I just met him, you know, I think, and Brandy. I was like, oh, yeah, of course, you know, just because I guess it worked with the characters and stuff at the time.
And the things that he was doing in Ring of Honor, and the things that he even did with Impact Wrestling, like the way he just started lighting stuff on fire. And that's what brought Cody and Kenny and the Bucks together and started going like this.